Welcome back, guys. So tonight we're going to be doing our fresh handmade tagliatelle pasta with a sausage ragu. And I'm going to show you that, you know what, pasta, homemade pasta is super easy. All right, so we're going to start with making our dough. So three simple ingredients I swear you have in your pantry right now. So starting off, we'll grab a little bit of water. Now, the water is just there to adjust after we've mixed our flour and our eggs. So flour, water, easy. Grab some eggs. 3 eggs. 3 eggs, 2 cups of flour. All right. Now, I'm using double O flour, which I prefer, but if you have AP flour, all-purpose flour, that's fine. All right. So I'm going to pop the 2 cups in there. And you kind of want to make a well in here so our eggs have a place to land. All right, so kind of just make a little pool for them. All right, so 2 cups of flour, 3 whole eggs. Easy as that. Boom. 1 shell. Boom. Okay, so the really cool thing about doing our pasta in the food processor is it's doing all the work for us. So make sure you have it closed up, and we're just gonna pulse this. And again, we're cooking with a feeling. So we're just watching this come together, and it's gonna end up looking almost like couscous. A little dry. Now, that flour is being hydrated as we speak with the egg, but this is why we have our water on the side. So let it go, it's still hydrating in there. Now, it's gonna need a little bit of water, all right? So start with just a splash. And you start to see it come together there. We want it to end up like a ball, all right? A ball of dough. It'll be whipping around in there. You start seeing it kind of come together like that, we're in business. All right, just a tad more water. All right. Touch more. All right. That's great because this is doing all the work that we would typically do with our hands and kneading the dough. It's pretty much doing it all the work for us. We're just going to do just a slight amount of kneading, and we see that ball form like that. We're pretty much done. It's okay if there's still some like pieces that aren't in that ball, but there we go. We have our floured work surface here. Make sure you have quite a bit of flour down because we'll use it. All right. We have these scrappy pieces in here. We can grab all of that out. All right. That's the hard part. All right. So now just a little bit of kneading. Kind of get this all into one ball. Now we do this first because this dough needs just a minute to rest. So everything's kind of hydrating. You saw, you know, as it came together in the food processor, it doesn't take much liquid. All right, just like that. Some plastic wrap. Always annoying using plastic wrap. All right, we have our pasta dough. Easy as that. So we're gonna pop this in the fridge. All right, in goes that. Next, we're gonna be working on our pasta sauce. All right, so we can just push this to the side there. So we're gonna do a pretty simple sauce here. It's a Ragu sauce. So we have some sweet Italian sausage. We have some anchovies, which I put in every pasta sauce. You know, typically people don't like anchovies, but here it gives us the body of our sauce. So you're not typically gonna taste the anchovy. When I cook for myself, I love anchovy, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. But for this, we're gonna just do just a touch, all right? Next, whole clove garlic and some chili pepper and rosemary. So we'll start with prepping our meat. So 2 sausage be enough for the amount of pasta that we're gonna be doing. And just slice down the middle. And you know, I like the casing on a sausage, so I'm gonna leave it on. I think it adds just another layer of texture. And then next, we're just gonna run our knife through it and kind of make some chunks. If you wanna buy like a pre-ground without the casing, that's fine, that'll work as well. Just run your knife through it. All right, just like that, off to the side. Cool. All right, next we'll do our garlic. For this amount, I'll do 4 medium-sized cloves. All right, so smash them, which lets out a lot of those oils that we want out of the garlic. All right, and then I'm just gonna work with 1 anchovy. All right, 1 anchovy. And just a quick chop on that. I'm gonna throw it on the pile of garlic that I have, and I'm gonna kind of do this on everything else. I'm gonna throw a bit of chili flake on that, and then my rosemary. 1 sprig, about that much, about the equate to how much garlic you have there. All right, and then you're just gonna take your knife and run it through that. All right. Just like that, give it a rough chop. We want that garlic to be down to kind of like a mince. Now all that's kind of coming together there. So it almost makes like a paste. All right, now we get our pan hot. All right, we got some heat on the top of there. All right, we use a little extra virgin olive oil. About 2 tablespoons at most. And we're gonna go immediately in with our garlic, anchovy, and rosemary. And that's what we wanna hear. We wanna hear that sizzle. All right, give that a shake. Now that garlic's gonna cook quickly, but this cold pork's gonna cool down the pan. So we wanna get it right to the point where it's starting to brown, but not too much, because once garlic gets too cooked, it gets bitter, and we don't want that. All right, so real quick, we wanna get all our mise en place in sorts. That's why I have everything ready. Our pan's hot, because things move quickly. All right, so in goes our pork, just like that. And you kind of wanna break this up. We wanna caramelize the pork. Now, the reason we're doing a Ragu sauce is because our handmade pasta is gonna be hearty, it's gonna be rich, supple, and it needs a sauce to stand up. Now, if I was doing like a lemon caper sauce, I'd wanna work with something like a angel hair or a spaghetti, something a little more delicate, but we're using something more rustic. We're not working with any other tools but what you typically have in your kitchen. So that being, you know, a food processor. If you have it, you can do this by hand as well. You have a knife, you have a cutting board. It's really all you need. And if you don't have a rolling pin, just use the bottle of wine you have open once you've finished it. All right. So I'm starting to smell, you know, that chili's getting toasted, the garlic's getting a little brown, but not too much. Remember, we don't want to get that like kind of bitter garlic taste that you get when you overcook your garlic. All right, so I'm looking good there. And you know, again, you want to have a sauce that matches up with your shape of pasta, because nothing's worse than having like a really meaty sauce over some really like light pasta. Turn down the heat a little bit. Now, we're not going to season this with any salt until the very end, all right? So, we can always season after the fact. If we season now, you're kind of just like calling it there, you know? We can't take that salt back. So we have this sausage broken up. The next step will be adding our Pomodoro sauce. So I typically like to just get the nicest quality stuff. You know, this brand is great, but if you have the time, I would grab some awesome tomatoes from your farmer's market, and if you steam them and chop them up yourselves, it makes for an excellent sauce. And there's just more love in there that you can add to your pasta. You know, this is a quick one. If you just elevate, you know, these little things, it's gonna make your dish pop off. That's what I love about Italian food, is it's simple, and you're using, you know, very few ingredients, but they all have to be excellent. And that's what I think Italian food is all about, you know, using top-notch ingredients, but in simple ways, and very few of them. So they just speak for themselves, and that's all you need. All right, so this is about there. I'm gonna add in my tomato sauce. It's about 2 cups there. So let's call it at that, 2 cups of sauce to 2 sausage. All right. So that's gonna stew for a bit. And when I come back, I'm gonna show you how we're gonna roll out our pasta, a really simple and easy way with no extra tools other than a knife and a cutting board. That's it. All right, so we've got our pasta dough rested, our sauce is made. Now it's time to roll it out. So this has like 10 minutes in the fridge. Why we rest it is because all this gluten in here is eating up the moisture, all right? So it's hydrating. So this is really important to do on almost any dough that you're working with. So we have our ball on a really well floured surface, but we want to kind of shake on some more flour. The more the merrier, but we don't want to like get this dough dry. So we want to flour our rolling pin as well. All right, and now we just roll out. Turning it, once we've kind of achieved, see it's kind of shrinking back on itself, we're gonna slowly work out and stretch it out. Now, if I just worked with this after we mixed, it would be, we'd spread it and it'd shrink right back in because it's not hydrated. So that rest is really important. All right, turn it over. Make sure you're just keeping your surface floured, you're keeping your rolling pin floured, right? You're turning it. Now this is super cool. I mean, like, have some friends over and show them this. Like, no one believes you until you actually do it in front of them that you're making fresh pasta at home. All right. Now, because we're not working with a pasta sheeter or any machine that's going to extrude the pasta, we're going to do things a little differently. So we're not going to get this like super thin as you would typically see in like a machine that sheets it out for you. So we're going to have kind of this like thick dough that you typically would be like, no, you're not going to be able to get a noodle off of that, but we will, because we have good knife skills. Now, if you don't have good knife skills, just start working on them and get better knife skills. All right, so you're starting to get a little workout. Your forearms are burning. Work this out. We're almost there. We're gonna make this like the size of a pizza. And this is just pretty much 2 ingredients, flour and eggs. You always have those at home. And if you don't, your neighbor does. All right, so you know when it's done when you're out of breath. All right, almost there. But you see how much that like shrinks back on itself. Now it's just all about stretching it out. Whew. I don't have to go to the gym today. Oh. All right, so you've got it to like a centimeter. Now it seems thick, and it's like, how the hell are you gonna get a noodle off that cooks in time or that's actually edible? But I'm gonna show you with your knife and a lot of flour, we're gonna achieve a pretty thin noodle, like a tagliatelle. So tagliatelle being long spaghetti-like, but flat. So think about our dough being about a centimeter, a little less than a centimeter, and that's like the ribbon. Now we're gonna cut it really thin so we get that other side that's super thin. All right, so we're gonna fold it onto itself with a lot of flour. Now the flour is gonna help it not stick to itself. All right. Now with each cut, we wanna push it off to the side, because the more that it hangs out on itself, it's gonna be sticking to each other. So every few cuts, just spread them out, all right? And again, it really helps to have like a really well-floured surface and a big space. So like, if you don't have a big cutting surface at home, clean off the dining room table, get 2 boards put together, you know, just make it happen. So every few, just you're spreading it out, making sure that they're not sticking together. So I'm doing like 3 slices, and then I'm spreading them out. And you're almost there. You're like, you're making pasta at home. It's pretty cool, man. All right, I'll just keep these floured. Now this extra flour on here is just gonna come off when we throw it in the pot. We're gonna shake them out a little bit before going in there, but you know, the more the merrier. It's just gonna help you out in the long run. All right. So, reason I think I'm married today is because of pasta. And I'll tell you why. Me and my wife, my now wife, we love Italy. We love Italian food. And we took a trip to Italy years ago, and I was planning on proposing on this trip. And so we were in Tuscany, and you know, we're in this beautiful countryside, and you know, little kitchen in this house, and a few ingredients, one being eggs and flour. And you know, there's this little market close to the house, and we went and, you know, got a few ingredients, and decided, you know, let's make some pasta tonight, you know. So made this pasta for my wife, this exact one, and she loved it, and it ended up being like, you know, something that once in a while she'll ask for. And I truly think that this pasta really set in stone her saying yes. So if you're looking to get a yes, go ahead and make this fresh pasta. All right, keep this floured. But you can see how easy this stuff is to stick to each other. It's just eating up the moisture. So it's really important to spread it out thin. And the reason I fold it onto itself is just to make an easier cut, you know. So these are looking like tagliatelle, all right? All right. So right there, that's like, I don't know, enough for 2 probably. So this is a batch for 4. So 2 cups of flour, 3 eggs. So we'll do this process one more time. Flouring the surface, flouring the middle, and running our knife through. And ever so often you're just flouring the syrup, flouring all your noodles. And I mean, if you do this with a group of people, you know, you could have one person, you know, cutting, the other person cutting, you know, get them involved, you know. This is fun, and you know, the more hands you get on it, the more they're gonna walk away from the experience being like, I can make pasta at home in under 30 minutes. Okay, almost there. So sauce is done. Pretty much all we need to do is cook this pasta, which, you know, fresh pasta is obviously going to cook differently than dried pasta. So you want to stay over your pot. You want to make sure you stay with it. So if you walk away for a second, you're going to have soggy pasta, and all this work for that, no. So stay by your pot. Stay on top of it. Try the pasta as you cook it, you know? So you want this perfect al dente, because then when we land in the pasta sauce, it's going to continue to cook. And pasta's delicate, so you want to serve immediately. Everything's fresh. That's why we love Italian food, is everything's simple, good ingredients, and fresh. All right, so we're looking good there. A little more flour. All right. So, boom. So we got a pot, boiling water. Now, you always want to get your pot of water on before you do anything, because nothing is worse than waiting on a hot, boiling pot of water. So make sure you have this guy rolling, and wait to season your water. We wait because as this is boiling, it's evaporating. And if we have salt in there, it's just going to condense, condense, condense. And by the time we're putting in this pasta, it's going to be like drinking the salt lake. So we want to have this seasoned like salt water. All right? So probably gonna take, a few tablespoons and just give it a taste, all right? Just a tad more. Now, the reason we salt the water is because you're seasoning your pasta. You're seasoning the pasta because the only other seasoning to it would be the sauce. So that's just the exterior of it. Now, the reason for salting the water is because it gets into the pasta. So each bite is seasoned well, not just the exterior of the pasta with that sauce. So I'm gonna show you a little trick. I think everyone loves cheese, and everyone loves, when you get a grilled cheese sandwich and that cheese kind of dribbles off the side of that sandwich and it sizzles on the plate, on the pan, and it gets crispy. That is my favorite part of a grilled cheese sandwich. I think everyone can agree. So to really kind of like do a little twist to this dish, I'm gonna make a Parmesan frico. So we're gonna take Parmesan, we're gonna take a grater, we're gonna grate some cheese, and I got my pan heating up here, and we're just gonna lightly oil it, and we're gonna land a bit of Parmesan cheese in there to crisp up like that grilled cheese sandwich. So I'm gonna grab some Parmesan cheese. And I really like a nice aged Parmesan cheese. So you can, I always suggest, with Italian food, getting high quality ingredients. So go search for your ingredients. You only got a few going into this, so make sure they're good. Make sure they count when you're using them. Now, I'm using a microplane here, which you can find most kitchen stores, but if you don't, you can just use a grater, it's fine. You really just want to get a fine grate on your cheese. And looks like a lot, but once this melts down, it isn't a lot. So we have our pan heating up in the back. We want this about medium heat. We don't want to burn the Parmesan cheese. We just want to toast it. We want to get it crispy. Now, this isn't very traditional, all right, for a pasta, but I think it's a cool twist to add not only texture, but a really good flavor of Parmesan cheese in a different way, because Parmesan cheese, when toasted, there's a lot of other complexities of the cheese that come on. So just oil that pan. That might be a little too much. I'll add a little bit to my sauce. All right. Now you want to be even. When distributing, you don't want to have any like super thick parts, and you don't want to have any super thin parts, because you want it all to kind of cook at the same time. And make sure you do this in a non-stick pan. If you try doing this in like a cast iron pan, you're not going to be very happy with the results. All right. So, cheese is toasting up. You see the kind of golden edge. It's perfect. You can kind of work your pan around to kind of evenly distribute that. All right. And you're going to want like a plastic spatula, something to lift off the cheese. And it's going to seem super melty, which it is, but once it comes out of the pan, it's going to kind of harden up into a crisp. All right. So it's just like that, all right? Not much more. And if it doesn't come off all in one, it's okay. You're just looking for that texture. And if you could smell this, you're smelling almost like a nuttiness from the Parmesan cheese. All right. You can also do this in the oven on like a sheet tray lined with parchment paper. But this works as well. And just work your spatula underneath it. just gonna put that to the side and I'm gonna let it rest. And that's that. All right? So we have our boiling water, salted, perfect. I'm gonna just turn on our sauce, get it up to temperature, work in that olive oil. I usually like to finish my sauces off with a bit of olive oil along with that Parmesan cheese. I think it just adds like a slight, shininess and also the pepperiness that you get from olive oil. All right, so as that's warming up, we're gonna go in with our pasta. And again, we're gonna stay on top of this. We wanna make sure that this does not get overcooked. So I'm just gonna kind of work off the excess flour that we've spread on it. Our water is on a full rolling boil. Now we go in with our pasta. Now, if we put this in and it wasn't rolling, it's not gonna cook correctly. You see that boil diminished the minute we put it on, the minute we put it in there. So make sure it is high heat and boiling. All right, so my sauce is coming up to temp, right? So this is gonna take a minute and a half. And the reason I'm working with a slotted spoon or spider is because I want to reserve this water. This is, again, a seasoning, almost like a pasta stock, if you will. So I'm going to use this when finishing the pasta. So when I take the pasta out, I'm going to land into the sauce. It's going to add a little more liquid. Again, I haven't added any salt to this pasta sauce. I will be adding salt when I add my pasta because they're seasoned and there's gonna have excess water on it. So the reason I don't wanna have a big colander behind me and dump out all this precious water, I have all this nice eggy pasta in here, salt, it's very useful. So try your pasta as you go. Probably 15, 20 seconds more and I'm done. Again, it's gonna continue to cook while it's in our sauce. And it's gonna continue cooking on the plate. So just be wary of that. All right, so my pasta is done. I'm adding it to my sauce. Now, again, ratio important, all right? You don't wanna put too much pasta and too little of sauce. You don't wanna have a dry pasta. I want to have nice and luscious pasta. I'm just going to kind of work it together here. And that water that is on the pasta looks to just be on point. I don't think I need to add any more to it. All right. Now to finish it off, Parmesan cheese, more of it. And again, this is adding more salt, so just be wary. All right. And what that Parmesan is gonna do is gonna kind of thicken it as well. All right. And then last, we're gonna throw in, just to kind of brighten it up a little bit, some torn parsley. I never like to cut my herbs. I just like, for fresh, soft herbs, I just rip it up. This is a rich sauce, standing up to rich pasta, so it's nice to have something that kind of breaks that all up. So fold that together. All right, and we're looking good. All right. So. All right. Now, I like to kind of twirl it in a way to get it onto the plate. And then you're just finishing it off with a little more of that sauce that's built up on the side of the plate. Now don't forget we have our Parmesan Frico. Turn the heat off on that. See that? How cool is that? Now I can just kind of break it up into pieces here. All right, voila. Fresh, handmade pasta under 30 minutes.